And welcome to Tales from the Holocron Vault. Hey, we got a special show today. It's really cool. Last show we did a live show last week. One of our just family, pretty much. You know, he's been here since the beginning. He's really asked us a lot of questions back and forth. We decided not to wait, tape something, and go. We're gonna give it out to him. Jedi Johnson, we really appreciate it. So we wanted to talk about it. He asked about something called Shattered Empire. And here today, I got him back, my co-pilot, the Wookiee that rips your arm off if you're not nice to our friends. Solowookkie, say hello.
What's happening, everybody?
And then, hey, just to join us on top of that, just like the most lovable Ewok you could ever find, we got Brian McClay. Brian, say hello.
What's up, fellas? Loving this live talk. I'm loving just chilling and hanging out, talking some Star Wars.
So this is the thing. Since it's a history buff, since Brian, as you know, is a history buff, because Game of Thrones is real history. We're going to take it back here to about 2015. We're going to cover Shattered Empire. And then if we have enough time at the end, we might cover Mando Monday. All right, it's going to be bad. It's really going to be bad because by the end of Shattered Empire, I'm going to try to stay on track. I might have to mute myself a couple times. We might have to edit some words out because there's some things that should have happened, some shouldn't. We'll get into it. Let's talk about what it was. So in 2015, they released, and remember, this is the time Marvel's releasing 8,000 variant covers. So here we go. We got a bunch of number ones.
Oh, that's it right there. That is one of the most gorgeous Star Wars covers ever right there.
Yeah, that was a good one. I unfortunately, because when I was very young, before I went to school, maybe I'll pull out the picture one time, dressed as an Ewok for Halloween. As a fact, dressed as this one. My mom made it. I don't know how you guys remember how your Halloweens were, but we didn't have buy costumes at store money. We had make it at on your sewing machine money. So my mom actually made me this costume with a wood. And then my dad did a wood spike thing too that didn't go over too well. Certain people at school, but hey, is what it is. And then this one became. Then there was also the Blake variants that became.
Now wait, go back.
Right.
PSA, everybody, make sure and let your Ewoks in this time of year. It's getting a little colder outside, and they are indoor pets.
Hey, that's better. You're getting better, man. You are absolutely getting better with it. I like that one.
I hate Ewoks. I'm one of those guys. I hate Ewoks.
Oh, man.
There's
something wrong with you.
Wicked's okay. I'm okay with Wicked, but he's a little too cute for me, man. I just wish Star Wars would have been not so cute.
I mean, they always had these characters. I mean, even Jawas are kind of, until you find out that they're rats and cloaks. Yeah. Anyways, you have the Blake variant. The most important part in one. So one starts right after right after the Death Star starts to explode. I think the first panel is actually Luke kind of doing the fight with Darth Vader, and then they're referencing it. He jumps on the Imperial cruiser, starts coming off. This woman right here, who is Sarah, almost shoots him out of the sky, but they're like, hey, she's Green Leader. And they're like, hey, don't shoot me out. I'm actually Luke Skywalker. Okay, we'll follow you all the way into Endor, blah, blah, blah. They have their little party. She is looking for this guy right here, who is Kess. And for those people who did not read Shadow Empire, he is a Pathfinder, kind of like a ground troop type guy. And these two turn out to be Poe Dameron's parents. And I think they conceive him on, I'll be honest with you, I think they conceive him on this night. There is a couple foreshadowing, though. I didn't add those pictures, but feel free to look through the books. You can find them. I think she ends up in silk sheets or something. Somehow they got sheets in Endor in Ewoks huts. And that's where she ends up. Towards the end of book number 1, there was still, on the moon of Endor, there was still Imperials. So Han Solo put together a strike team. They pretty much blew that out. Then he said, this is not over. That is okay. Book number 1's fine. It's just a recap. It was just to try to introduce people back into Star Wars and Marvel, handling it the way they were going to handle it. Book number 2 is kind of like the big jumping off point and a sticky point, I might add, because it starts off hot. And this is one of the scenes. It's on the commander's deck, and they're telling everybody to leave. The reason why they're telling everybody to leave is because this character shows up. For those that don't know, this is called the messenger. And when the Emperor died, these messengers, like when his essence left the world, these things were activated. What they would go and do is they would run around to these Imperials that they felt were ranked very highly in the Imperial Army, that they knew were loyalists, and they were told special orders. A couple of them got different orders. We found this out through other books, and we'll get into it. But this one in Shattered Empire is the first time we actually see this droid-like figure. And when you give the blood thing and it comes up correctly to the person that's supposed to be there, the messenger gives you a messenger from the good old Emperor. Now, this picture here is out of Battlefront 2. They actually had used it in the video game Battlefront 2 when you were doing the actual walkthrough or the gameplay that wasn't the MMO stuff, like not the mass stuff that you can play with everybody else, the mixed game stuff. But you're actually going through the storyline stuff. He does show up in there, and they talk about it. The big point that they brung up in both the books and in the video game, which later led on to other novels and other books, was Project Cinder.
This picture always killed me. It's like it's like Mysterio Palpatine.
Mm-hmm.
It's such a great idea, though. I love the idea, man. I love shit like that.
It was so cool too. Like in the video game, it's cool because he comes in from the shadows, and then his face kind of this is the point too. And this is we're only going to talk 5 minutes, and then somebody raise your hand because it'll go down a huge rabbit hole. But here's the thing. So they didn't just use this here, right? Like they started using it in a bunch of different places. Mm-hmm. And they used it through obviously the comic book. Then they brought it into the video game. They also started putting it into the Alphabet Squad, which the Alphabet Squad had a comic book that came out, which was the opposite version, which was the TIE Fighter book in comics, the Star Wars TIE Fighter book. TIE Fighters is what it's called, I think, which would be the opposite of the Squad, where Project Cinder comes up, and they bring this up. They also kind of mention it because there's a character named Rex who was the adopted stepson of the Emperor. And when you start reading all this stuff and you saw 7 coming out and you were like, dude, they have the messengers. And when I first heard the voice, because I was at Celebration when they did it, when what's his name got on stage and did the "I'll be back," that. When I heard it, I was like, oh, this is great. They're going to bring the messenger out. They're going to talk about Cinder. And what Operation Cinder was he told these Imperial loyalists that still had Death Stars, just nuke planets pretty much. It doesn't matter. Even if all your X-Wings die, everybody else dies, there's a list of planets that we're going to just nuke and destroy. And you'll see it. So they use these these things right here. They use these little circular disc things. And it'll boil planets up. It'll cause what's it called? Earthquakes, all that type of stuff. Any of the natural disasters to pretty much occur in the planets, and it'll just destroy planets. Actually, the first planet in this book that he goes after just so happens to be, Princess Leia ends up on it. It's Naboo. They try to do this on Naboo. This is in in this book or in the series, they try to use those things.
Now wait, when did this come out? Because I still, and for those of you in the audience, I did not read this, and I still have not read this.
So to go back to it, the actual official title of this was, if you can read it up here, it is.
I asked when it came out because that is an awful lot like the drill that they used in that new rehash of the Star Trek movie. So. Gee, I wonder where they got that at. If this was predated, someone ripped somebody off.
Yeah, it was they all. Yeah, there's a long history of ripoffs. But 2015, so it was the Road 2, so it was previous to Episode 7. This was kind of the lead up, and that's why I definitely thought that you were going to. If up at the top, obviously it says Road 2, so it was right before the movies. It's kind of one of the first things that they put in there in the Star Wars thing. It was the lead into it, but it built up. This wasn't something they were giving away on because Battlefront 2, the video.
Sorry, I don't mean not to interrupt you like that, Marco. But I remember that this was a big book in the stores when this came out because nobody had the new Star Wars. Like we were itching for Star Wars, and this was kind of like Marvel's first early foray into the Star Wars stuff. So everybody was itching. I remember, I think that was Chichetto. That was a Chichetto variant.
It was a Chichetto variant that you were showing. Yeah.
Yes, I remember people going crazy for that. I remember my buddy Josh. He's a comic artist. His name's Joshua Green. If you guys ever get a chance, check him out. He's pretty dope. I remember him freaking out over that Chichetto cover, being like, "Holy shit, that is amazing!" And when you have actual comic artists saying that, like, that means a lot. What a beautiful, beautiful cover. So anyways, I remember how, is it Chichetto? Who is that? It might not be Chichetto.
I think there was a Chichetto cover in there. There was a lot of covers. Like Book of Millions had two. Everybody, there were so many covers. I didn't pull them all because it would take 15 minutes just to go through all the covers. There may have been 20 covers in it, but I thought Chichetto did do one of these covers.
I think Chichetto might have been that last one, that really beautiful one with the chick on the front.
Oh yeah, this one right here. No, yeah. It's the same. I think they
same
both
guy, same guy, both same guy. Yeah. Anyways, that cover is gorgeous. Both those covers are gorgeous. I mean,
yeah, and the inside works cool. And like honestly, like yeah, sure, it sucks when you see this because you're like, this scene was so dope because you saw it in the video game, but like how this played out.
Ooh, I love. Like, go back to that.
Yeah, that's
I love that, dude. That's so cool, man.
That art in there, the way they, even with that line, I mean, you can tell that it's that video. And same in the video game, the way that they portrayed that video playing on it like a screen was ominous.
Yeah, I mean, this is actually, so I pulled 3 panels out of 2 pages. So it really, I remember reading it and going like, what is this thing? Like, what's going, because you didn't know, like, at
what
this
are
point,
they doing there? Are they like shaking hands?
Yeah, no, he the next panel, there's a spike that pulls up. He's testing, it's blood verification, so it puts a drop of blood in. Then you actually see the blood drop down onto the actual
I remember
the messenger droid. And then I mean, it really was cool. I mean, look at the dirt and the teeth, like the whole thing, like they did so much detail. It was so cool. And like for a guy who, and I know people, if you've watched this podcast before, you understand how I felt about some of the older stuff, especially clones with making no sense out of it. Like that was the moment. Like that's the moment when I stopped with I hate Disney because they erased the legend stuff. When this book came out, I was like, okay, I'll give them a shot. You know what I mean? Because I was like,
oh, it's so good.
Like they erased it and it made sense. And then they ruined it. But
but we won't talk about that. Rabbit hole. Stay on track.
Yeah. So this was it. So but this is how cool this was. So they didn't just do it here. So then the next year you get Battlefront, whatever comes out. You have that scene where you're playing through the campaign, and in the campaign you have the antagonist. She's a TIE fighter pilot, and they do this portion of they show this. They kind of explain Cinder there. Then in the TIE Fighter book, they go back a little bit more and kind of in the comic, they kind of talk some more about it. Then they do Alphabet Squad, which I just finished the second book about 2 months ago on this. And I can see Alphabet Squad being something. It really is like, so the Alphabet Squad is because each rebel person, it's a special unit. One of the people, the girl right here, she was part of the group that was doing Cinder and like destroying planets, and then she decided, her commanding officer told her, you need to leave, like this isn't for you, and she ended up converting to the rebel side. The second book's even better. It's almost like a spy novel, but they're called the Alphabet Squad because it's like X-wing, Y-wing, all the wings, so like they have one of each plane in there. But the opposite of this, and I didn't pull it up, I probably should have, is a book that I always pick up when I can, especially some of the people that are on the front of it, is that TIE Fighter book. And they've got...
What's that book called?
I think it's called TIE Fighter. Like
TIE Fighter?
Yeah, I think it's called TIE Fighter. And that one's got some of the key characters. I know that when those variants were coming out, I was like, man, why are people... Nobody's reading Alphabet. Like that's sometimes where the market is weird. Like people gambling on stuff that they haven't really kind of... Yeah, so if you can get some of the variants on this, like they have her in a silhouette. They have one of the lead bad guys, her commander, in the silhouette. A lot of the characters come up there. Those are
these
good.
are based on video games, right?
They're based on the combination of Battlefront 2, the campaign, and this book.
Which is good for people out there that I know speculation is crazy, but video game books are really hard to find, and it being a Star Wars book, us Star Wars fans are holding on to those things. So.
That's what it was. So like when they had figured out, like, so technically they reference them in there, but it's not they're not like in there, but people thought they were going to be, so they had bought the variants for this. And if you can find the variants, like if you can pick up if you can figure out the variants on these, Brian, if you could pull one up from maybe.
Yeah, I'm looking right here. I got one.
It's like a white cover. Yeah.
Shit. Look at this one. This is a variant for it. It's not for 1, it's for number 4.
Yeah.
Here we go. Let me find.
But there's ones that are white that have the characters in them, and it's really cool. So I mean, but a lot of the variants, I'll tell you this, a lot of the variants like disappeared. I was surprised at, well, first off, it was in my opinion, because as I've stated before, my LCSs owns 3 LCSs, within a 50-mile radius. So they get almost every variant in every book. And this one didn't have, oh, that's cool. This one didn't have a ton. Like you couldn't find, they didn't ever have a ton of these. So,
some of these, I don't know if I want to show, man.
I never saw any of them.
Yeah. But they're going to be hard to find. There wasn't a book that was ordered a ton. And then when people were catching on to them, like they were like buying them really quickly. This is, once again, I knew we were going to go down rabbit holes. Thank you, Jedi Johnson, because you got us on this one. And but yeah, I mean, like that, it was 1 through 3. Yeah, Maxwell's right. The character variant was 1 through 3.
God, these are gorgeous, man. Yeah. These covers on every cover I've seen for every single. It doesn't have to be a variant. Every single cover of this series that I've seen so far are absolutely gorgeous. Oh shit! Look at you're right, Marco. Holy shit! Look at this.
Yeah, what's going on? Yeah, these are cool. And okay, so here you go. Yeah, cool books. And they honestly were underordered. They were really underordered. I think after 1 started going, so that character's important. I shouldn't tell people. Well, whatever. Go get them. That character is important. The next book is kind of important too. Obviously, that's the main character for Alphabet Squad. She's the one who defaulted from. We should probably just, you know what? Maybe we should just do a little short special in the next week or so on this series and do Alphabet Squad.
We might have to.
I think it might be worth it. JJ was right. It was the 1 through 3. Yeah,
and I think the only one I think I ever saw was the action figure variant TIE Fighter. I think that's the only book I ever saw in any store at any time.
Yeah, that one. I saw a couple of them. There's one I'm waiting. So I'm waiting for a couple of the character variants to go on sale, because after 1 went out there and sold out, it was like crazy. Like everybody started over ordering 2 and not over ordering, but they start to get all the variants in 2 and 3. So those are a little bit more common to find. 2, the one we just saw a minute ago. Let me try to pull that back up. I'll see what I can do. Maybe not, because it was in 3rd screen. This one right here, that's very important. If you guys see this, especially if you see it on discount under ratio, because I think, JJ, was it a 1 in 10? May have been a 1 in 10, right?
What's that?
I'm talking to JJ Maxwell in the chats. I think it was a 1 in 10, that book. She is very important. She is like pretty much the main character. They do start doing chapter characters on some of the other ones to flush them out in the second novel, but it's very important to
1 in 25. JJ says 1 in 25. Yeah. 125. So real quick, maybe just touch on it, why they call them the Alphabet Squadron, and then let's jump on to the next step of the Shadow Empire.
Sure. They're called the Alphabet Squadron because they like she drives one of them drives an X-wing, one of them drives a Y-wing. Like all the letters, the A-wing. Like so, each person has one of those. There's only like 6 people. So each one has a different lettered, like a bomber. So a B-wing, there's a B-wing there.
Different squadron letter.
Yeah, different squadron, different letter for the actual ship, how they used to do those rebel ships. So like
the A-wing, the Y-wing, the X-wing, I didn't know if our viewers knew that or not. So I just wanted to help clarify that, because the first time I ever heard it, I was like, that's kind of a weird name. And and then like waiting up all night for the sun, it dawned on me and I felt dumb.
No. So I think I was at one of the celebrations when they announced the name of it, and I was like, what kind of Anyways, and then they give out like preview books at a lot of these where it's like a bunch of books. It's like like a soft cover, and they'll have like an excerpt from each book, and they had the Alphabet Squad excerpt in it. Those probably worth something. I bet you somebody would want those.
I'll bet
whatever. Yeah. So no, they're not the excerpt books, Ryan.
Oh anyway. My God, no. I'm over here looking at some of these covers, and I just want to show you guys, but I don't want to show everybody else. You know what I mean?
Hey, look. These have been out for years. Feel free to show them. Now the problem is you're going to have to hunt them. How about this? We'll do a show on them. Which sucks because I just said it too. Like, I'm waiting for my LCS. Like, I'm like, dude, it's been a couple of years. Would you please put them in the 50% off pile so I can buy it? Because
you heard it here, folks. Here first, folks. Get out there and hunt them.
Don't go grab those. Let them get there. I'll be the first one for the 50% off pile. But I mean, they're really cool. That was cool. The whole story is cool. The second one, I was like, the first one, too, you have to remember a lot of this stuff, including Shadow Empire, was coming out around a time where people were talking about, this is around the time the famous Diamond Summit happened, where the guy's yelling at the Marvel people about what type of comics they're producing and all that type of stuff. So you have to think like, this is kind of a time too where that comes out and the TIE Fighter books come out and the Alphabet, and you're like, whoa, wait. I mean, I was always, as you know, I preach like, it might not be for me, but I'm going to grab it because I see what people are gravitating to. Shadow Empire, I love because of this, but then like with Alphabet Squad, the TIE Fighters and stuff like that, I did gravitate to because like that wouldn't typically be a first read book for me. But when I saw people going like, younger people going like, this is it, I'm like, yeah, game over.
Are they involved in the new video game?
Not the new one. So there's brief references to them in So Battlefront 2 is an interesting game. God, Brian, I know we had the rabbit hole. I know we had the rabbit at the beginning of this one. But
it's even worse now, guys, because I had to step out back for a second. So like the rabbit hole is going to open wider and wider, guys.
So like when they first started off, it was really cool because you thought you were going to have like this massive player game, and it was okay. Like they had a couple maps on it. Like you were kind of like at the one. It's like big groups MMO like of people kind of fighting. It was right before they started doing. The current, like the PUBGs and those.
Well, I remember Battlefront when it first came out, specifically for that Battlefront action figure, the Trooper, Battlefront Trooper. So I remember Battlefront. I played the Battlefront when it first came out, and I remember Battlefront. Battlefront was great, but isn't the Squadrons one like even more immersive? Like it's like
the new Squadron ones, yeah. So the new, you're talking. I thought you were even talking about the Fallen Order. Yeah, so the new Squadron one, I thought it was going to play into Alphabet Squad, and they kind of did the same thing in Squadrons that they did in Battlefront 2. Not Battlefront the original, Battlefront 2. Where they if you played the campaign in Battlefront 2, now I know a lot of people want to play the online portion of it, but if you actually played through the campaign, that's when they did the Cinder. That's when you saw, like, once again, when you saw this and you saw the actual Cinder occurring. Mm-hmm. And like, they're there and they're referenced. The people from Alphabet Squad, same in this one. They're referenced, but they're not like because Hera's in charge. We'll do an episode on it.
Yeah.
We're already 24 in. And
all right, back to Shattered Empire.
Thanks a lot, Jedi. Where were we in Shattered?
The Emperor's drone guy.
Yeah. So after in same book in Emperor's drone, they her commanding officer of Green Squad's like, hey, listen. And this is where you first kind of see Poe's name, right? So you kind of like, oh, wait, these are Poe's parents. Leia ends up on Naboo because, like I said earlier, I kind of gave that secret away. But that's one of the first planets that the Emperor, for some reason, wants to blow up. So you're like, this is great, man. We're going to get the Emperor back. We're not going to have clone Emperors. We're going to have him attacking Naboo. So we'll figure out why there's that weird – because he's always had this weird thing with Naboo, right? Like, he's the senator or whatever, but then he doesn't really want to be that. But that's also like he somehow earlier on was a Sith someplace, like kind of developing. So you figure you get the backstory, maybe even of like, the Sith that we think like, because there's Plagueis and everybody else, but maybe Trombone or something like that had something to do with him being placed there, which would be the master of him. So like,
we always wanted that too. Like Star Wars fans want more of that storyline,
that early story.
Yeah, that
right.
Plagius or Plagueis, however you say it.
Plagueis, but then you get Trombonius or Trauma before him. So like you would figure that would have to somehow play in because he would have not been even an apprentice yet. They would have had to find him to be an apprentice put on there. So you would have got 2 removed from Plagueis, which would have been super cool.
Yes. And for all of you guys that don't know what we're talking about Palpatine's master. And if you guys have, and most of everybody that's watching this already knows this, so I'm just speaking to the choir, but Plagueis basically is the guy that figured out how to Well,
we talk about in the Rule of True video that we're going to release in like a week. But
there we go. So keep an eye on the Rule of True.
He kind of is, but he kind of, yes. So then after that, they
Jedi Johnson says something very interesting. Is Naboo Palpatine's home planet?
Yeah, it's supposed to be. But like there's always been this thought process that like how is it? Like he doesn't that's what I was kind of saying. Like there's before what has happened now, okay, there's always been like this. And if you still look at it, it's kind of weird. Like, yeah, because he was the senator from Naboo. So it's supposed to be his home planet. He's supposed to have been there. But like something
did he really, right?
Yeah, like something somewhere happened. And that's what I kind of think a lot of people were trying to think about. And one of the theories, and it could be nothing. Like at one point they had the theory where Palpatine was that shape behind what's her name? Shmi, and they thought that was like him changing. It could be nothing, but there's some breadcrumbs that might lead to place that maybe like Palpatine.
I could be wrong, totally wrong, but they allude to it in several books, but I don't think they ever truly say that is his home planet.
Yeah.
I think they always just kind of barely alluded.
Yeah, that's what I was kind of saying. Like there's a couple theories out there, and okay, so this is like Reddit 4chan rumor type stuff, or like not anywhere close, but like maybe the Emperor isn't actually the Emperor, maybe he is Plagueis, maybe Plagueis possessed a Force person on Naboo, and that's how this has all happened. But whatever. Anyways, it doesn't have to play out that way, but that was kind of one of the theories. It would just be cool to see because you would figure that you'd have to like, why is he always so angry at Naboo? You know what I mean? Like,
yeah,
it's another gorgeous Chichetto cover.
Definitely, he definitely has a beef with Naboo.
Yeah, and that's like part of the thing. Like, why do you have the beef? Where's the beef?
Some of it's money. Some of it is because Naboo is a wealthier planet and has good resource, and that's why the Trade Federation, yada yada yada. Go watch episode 1.
Yeah, he says that it's his whole plan. No, I know, Jed. I know he says that. But what I'm saying, but there's other like references where they reference that, like, yeah, it's his home planet, but like, is it his home planet? You know what I mean? Like, there's other little breadcrumbs that had always been laid around up to Shattered Empire, up to Vader 2, which was well after Shattered Empire, where people were saying like, oh, it could be a Plagueis thing, or it could have been a possession thing. It could have already been a body jump at that point, and he got trapped in a body, so that Palpatine, technically the Emperor, who is Darth Sidious actually isn't technically originally Palpatine. He's originally somebody else, and then just takes over the Palpatine body.
Yeah, because he learned from Plagueis how to do what Plagueis figured out how to do.
Or it could have been Plagueis tricked and then did the
Plagueis.
Plagueis. Okay, so you know what? This opens up another rabbit hole that we won't go down, but just I'm throwing it out there for another discussion. We need early Palpatine, early Sidious stories.
Yeah, okay.
I've always said that. I've said that from a long time ago because there is so much that they reference in the first original 3 movies, episode 1, 2, and 3, and you hear it from Dooku. You hear it from the Palpatine and in and out of senator robes and all of that, and his training, and then in the third one when he's talking to Anakin in the balcony, and he's telling him the story, and then the whole description from Dooku and in Attack of the Clowns when he's got Obi-Wan all strung up on the stuff and he's walking around. And then there's also other parts of books. Years and years ago, I read as a child. I probably will totally misquote them because I'm old and have bad memory. And they talk about the dark side of Dagobah and why Yoda chose to live on Dagobah because of to balance the Force and yada, yada, yada. And they're great stories, great. And I agree. I think that if we could get those stories and get the beginning, not only that, but that's where you start learning about the Darksaber, how it was forged, who forged it, why it was forged, blah, 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 blah. And it really tells all for eons and eons and eons the storyline, and they just don't really say it.
So that's what I'm saying. Like this is what got. I'm just saying my expectations and the guys I was talking to in the LCS, but this is where we start going to like. That's why I think once again I wasn't so hard on Disney getting rid of Legends, because we're like, they're going to clean it up and we're going to get a troop, because you got to remember it's all shady, right? Like even like. So like all the queens, now they've even written the stories on the queens, and the Palpatine story doesn't make sense. He's just kind of like some dude on the planet that then all of a sudden becomes a senator, but somehow he's like really respecting all but the other families all have daughters and they become queens and such like that when they're younger. The whole thing, and it could be just a Lucas mess up and they've just given up on trying to fix it. I mean, it could be that too, but like, you're right, Brian. I think like getting just a fixture, if they did a fixture, and I thought kind of when they were going to do these air books, because they did a lot of good stuff in the age of the era of those books, they would have given us like a punch of the Palpatine. Yeah. Instead, they did what they did with movie number 9, and they just yeah.
All right, so like, back to Shadow Empire
again. So Shadow Empire. Hey, this was actually because I thought we were going to need some extra time to put it into this. I knew we were going to have it, but I didn't think we were going to make it not even to book 3 by the time 30 minutes. So here we go. I threw in a sweet Wookiee page because
boom, baby, look at that
sweet Wookiee page. Really is. I really like the bowcaster in this page. This is really when the art, I was like, oh, dude, they're doing it finally right. Like, there's not going to be any more Jedi versus Sith clown art, anything like that. This is going to be legitimate, like, art in these books. Kind of cool. The Queen and Naboo, Leia and somebody else decide to get into the little pirates. This is what they did kind of put this in, and I really think this is like humor that they were starting off. And I know some people got canceled in the Marvel series, and maybe that's why they kind of got away from this stuff. But it looks like a deuce. It looks like a deuce. I mean, that takes it back to those original. It's funny because Jedi Johnson said that he wanted us to turn our rabbit into Jax, right? Jackson. And like that's what I read this too, like before that, because I obviously cut this picture out of the book and put it in here. And I was like, oh god, like that was the humor back then of the books. Like they would do little things like that, like, and it kind of made it fun. That's really all I want to add in that book because there really isn't much else besides the action.
Cover, man.
So then, obviously, you see Skywalker here. He comes in. He is Jedi Skywalker. Him and Poe's mom kind of do like I don't know, maybe an undertone flirty at the same time, like whatever thing going on there. And he's all pouty, and I'm so super strong now because I wear black instead of wearing brown robes or whatever.
He looks badass, though.
Yeah,
he's badass.
In the book,
yeah, that's everyone's favorite.
He looks really badass throughout the book. Like he does.
Everyone's
he's got, like, longer hair that's like flipping up, that's not cut anymore, and like, oh yeah, he looks super strong too. But what's really cool, so they go to the planet, and when they're going there, they this happened. They like show. See, this is what really is disappointing. So she pretends she's an IBD officer. So like internal affairs, like something like that. That's what IBD is. It was like the interior, the officers that would like check on like if your clothes were off or they thought you weren't hailing your hand the right way. Kind of like SS officers. That's what it was. So like she was pretending to be that, and the guy in the background here in the row is Luke, and he's just like robed up the whole time. He's like ready to go, and they show this. So it's an old B2 battle droid facility, and they were building all these messengers, and you're like, well, that's of course Luke's using the Force power to break them all down, but you're like, cool, if they're doing that. Well, 2 points. Like, if they're using old battle droid facilities, like in 10 years, less than 10 years, you could have battle droids show up on Mando. I'm just saying that. I don't think it's going to happen, but like at least they could have still had him somewhere around. Number 2, it was just really cool because you're like, they've got to have a ton of these messengers out there. And we knew there wasn't a ton of fleets, and we knew a lot of them were going to the Outer Rim, but some of the storylines that were going on after Shadow Empire was speaking about all these scattered places and how the like people would be killing their commander because they weren't loyal enough to the empire, and they were kind of showing it. Like, it was kind of cool because like, so Rex was the Emperor's son was on Jakku. He's like in an underground facility. So like one of the messengers had said like, forget about Cinder, like you to one of the females, I think it was Pike or something like that. They told her she needed to go out and find him on Jakku, and so like she like decimated a couple of the what she considered the non-loyalists. It was really interesting how they did it because it kind of had Brian. I mean, I probably why you liked it, but you didn't read all the expanded stuff, I don't think. But like in the expanded stuff, it kind of was like how like it was very historical of how certain empires fell and what they did to try to rebuild themselves or become like guerrilla tactics after that. It was really cool. They definitely used some historical basis to that. I think that's actually where where the World War II references. A lot of people reference stuff from Star Wars towards certain Axis powers in the in World War II. I think they reiterated that there is a little bit of a reference to that. When you start reading the expanded stuff, you definitely can see that they are using that portion of history and maybe some stuff like after the Ultimate Plan and stuff like that happened with the Axis powers. They're definitely using some of those
takeaways.
Yeah, reimagining them for the Star Wars world. So you get that. They show, but this is what's really cool. So they show up in this, and this is really hasn't been hit up, and I'm waiting for them to go back to it. Like I can't. I'd have to go back and look, but I really, I can't.
Stark Hyperspace War, man. Wasn't part of the Stark hype? Wasn't those trees and shit? Wasn't that part of that?
This right here, these are two. They're actually twigs. They're, believe it or not, they're twigs. But so like there was a tree on Coruscant. The Jedi Padawans would train around it. They like had this magical like force type feeling, like a good feeling to it that they would like train. Like you see it in Clone Wars and stuff like that. Palpatine, when he took over Coruscant, destroyed it, but left these two things. It's called a Uneti tree or whatever. That was what the one in Coruscant was. We see it again, actually. We do see it in the movies because that's the one that, remember the lightning comes down where they have the books and it blows it up? In this book, Luke Skywalker takes one of these, and that's the tree that ends up blowing up because this is where he decides. So this is how close it is. When people want to know when he decided to start training Padawans again, it's this. He takes this tree, and the purpose of taking this tree is so that he can train Padawans. But what people forget about this book and why this book is seriously important and why it was one of the 2 points why I think Jedi Johnson was trying to get at. I think he was trying to get the messenger to try to get me down the rabbit hole of why they shouldn't have done clones and what they could have done instead. But number 2 is this scene right here, which is the last page of the last book. And I don't know if you can see it, so I did a little orange arrow, and I changed it up a little bit. But that right there is the second tree. And Poe's parents planted that on Yavin. Yeah.
Yeah,
So
and isn't like the whole thing that like if that tree is around, it could, and there's a young child around, it could, that type of thing.
Right. So Poe did grow up around it. He actually almost destroyed it at one point. I do know that because that was in like Poe 27 or something. They referenced it. I think in the comic they might have referenced it, and his dad like made him like fix it back, nurse it back to health or whatever. But with that being said, like as long as it's there, the life form, like it. Well, they kind of ruined it in the movies because then Yoda came back and said like, you don't need a tree to teach Padawans or whatever the heck he said about that. But like, But that's it. Like, this book was so cool. So, like, yeah, I am a little bit butthurt because when this was like when I was really like, okay, I forgive you. You know what I mean? I was like, all right, I'll defend the Disney's decisions. And then J.J. Abrams happened, and like, I don't think he read this book.
Rabbit hole. Here we go.
I mean, I just don't think. No, I mean, I don't think he read the arc. I really don't. Like, and I know there's different types of fandom, and we talk about it all the time. But like, dude, they laid this out for you, dude. How cool would that be? That you have. Look, you wouldn't have to do the Rey thing on a different thing. You would have already had the stepson. Rex would have been alive. You would have had the stepson for the Emperor, and he could have been the actual son. You know, he could have been. You could have even had the Emperor jump into the Rex kid's body, man. I mean, they eventually. Spoiler alert. They eventually killed the Rex kid, the adopted nephew, because you can't have him around if you're, you're having Palpatine drop into like 60-year-old clones. But like, that I don't know, man. I really just was. This is another thing I forgot. This I added this late. This is that gun that shows up in Mando, by the way, and this shows up. In, I think that shows up in the same book, the same one that has the trees in it, the last book, and they use that little Gatling thing gun in there too. So that's pretty cool. You remember when they're going into the pub and they're Gideon's coming in and they pull out the gun and they just shoot up the entire pub with this gun? Mm-hmm. This is where I think it shows up. Who knows? Who collects a gun? But it's cool. I mean, like, if you're going to collect everything, you might as well you should just get the whole series anyways. This was a great recommendation by Jedi, and it's great to go back in it. And, it makes a lot of sense.
And I think you're right. I think that this storyline would have played a lot better than the way that they kind of went with the last three movies. I think this would have explained more and gave it more depth for sure.
Yeah, so this was, so the movie in the tree that set on fire was in the last three. It was the second movie when the lightning hit it. When Rey was trying to save the books from the library, that tree is one of those two twigs that blew up. So where did that go? Force Awakens, Last Jedi. So Last Jedi would be Last Jedi. This gun shows up in that. What other questions do we have? Gonna make Lando the main. Yep.
Isn't there like a weird
You're right.
Isn't there like a weird religion with all this stuff that kind of like was first talked about during that Stark Hyperspace War Republic run? Do you remember that? I felt like there was something about that.
So there has been, yes, there had been there had been reference. All this stuff isn't like new, like, right? So it's been stuff that was taken out of it. And that's kind of like the forgiveness too. Like, they just did a better job writing it and coming up with the concepts of how it actually, you got to remember a lot of that legend stuff when they threw it together. When they threw that legend, I'm answering a question that somebody asked there and trying to talk at the same time. Two things is not great. So when they got rid of a lot of that stuff, this was kind of like the first time where they took some of the stuff and what they've done now, what we've seen them do better. They grabbed some of the stuff that was cool and actually flushed it out. You have to remember that they were capped with how much they could explain, just in case Lucas wanted to come up with another movie.
I remember Shattered Empire got super hot when everybody was first saw like the trailer for episode 7, and everybody was wondering where like Rey got her powers from, and everybody was like, "Oh, she grew up around one of those trees." That's was the first like big rumor that popped up, and that book shot up a little bit.
Well, and everybody thought that book was going to give away a bunch of details of what they were going to do with the story and all that, which is part of the reason I was like, all right, it's been so long, I'm not reading this series. I'll wait until the end. And I knew better, and I still did it to myself. I'll get them later on after the movies are all gone. I know better too, man.
So Jedi, yes, it was in both Master and Apprentice and Lost Jedi, the original tree. Those two things that were, let me get back to the pictures real quickly, where you see these two things hanging in the balance. Where the heck were they? Right here. So where you see these two pieces, these are actually like would be they were originally they were referred to as twigs. I think they kind of started growing in whatever Bacca type thing they have going on there. Kind of like if you sever like certain types of plants and then you can replant them and they grow off. One of these, so the original tree, yes, was on Coruscant, was the Jedi one, was at the Jedi Temple, and was all the way there up into like up from all the days back since there's been a Jedi Temple there, all the way up to the point where the Emperor too took over Coruscant. At that point, he destroyed it. This was what was left. It was kind of like on a collection area because if you a lot of stuff they did to explain things would say that there was all these collection areas or collection barges or collection prisons that had all these things to explain how certain things occurred. Obviously, this was important enough to make one of the trees last to the Last Jedi movie because it showed up there but then caught on fire by lightning. However, they've never brought up the other tree, which, yes, for a long time was rumored that that's how Rey you could explain Rey's power. You could explain like Broom Boy, like that was a big one. Like Broom Boy had somehow done that or whatever, that type of power and everything like that too. And that Rey's parents were originally on Endor around this tree. They left to Jakku to go fight because of Cinder, and they dropped her off on Jakku because they were trying to blow up Jakku as part of Project Cinder, and instead of that, they died in there. I mean, that's kind of one of the rumors was. Yeah, we're gonna get into we actually, and then Lopez brought up something too about the script that leaked, the Duels of Fate script. We actually have already done an outline for that. There is going to be a part where we actually do really get into it. I don't think I mean, look, I don't know how many people are going to want me to listen to talk about it, but I'll actually, obviously, because some people really loved how I said that the second movie was a filler movie. So then you're going to get to hear my true opinion on the last three movies. So that should go well. They're not going to turn on me at all on that. But when we do also talk about Duels of Fate, because I think it's important. Like, I really do like.
Yeah, it is.
I think it's important to talk about Duels of Fate because of some stuff that's happening and like the actual fact that the script leaked. Like, I mean, not just that, they like leaked concept art. They leaked a whole lot of stuff from that. And like
that was a complete shit show, man. Everything about Star Wars at the Lucas, whatever at the time was a shit show. Now that we look back at it.
Yeah, I mean, everything
was it a leak or was it a publicity hype? Let's call it a leak. Let's put it out there and see how they react, and then we'll react on their reaction.
Well, I mean, they didn't. Obviously, the movie was look. You had the lowest grossing movie that's ever come out, right? And then like a little bit later, people are like, "Yeah, but it wasn't JJ's fault." And then all of a sudden, when it was like, "Okay, don't blame JJ," Duels of Fate came out. Like, then you're like, "Oh, well, if you read that," and then you're like, well, "Look, we'll get into that because I want to talk about one more thing before that." But we'll get into that, and you definitely see, like, once again. He very may well have read this comic book because if you see what he did to Duels of Fate, because he definitely read Duels of Fate, and you see this comic book, and then you're like, yeah. Like, he also watched the Johnson movie, and you saw what he did to that movie. Like, you know, hey, man, like, it's cool. You
can always tell when there's a deep explanation that Marco's afraid to give the people because you hear but then it's,
yeah.
And then he's like, I want to say it all, but we'll be here for 10 hours. And it's great. I love it.
Let's talk about Mando Monday.
Yeah, so Jedi, I hope that was cool. Thank you very much for giving it. I know I kept promising you we do all these shows with your ideas. This one's for you, brother. I mean, it really is. I hope we covered it for you. I really thank you for asking us about it. I knew you probably knew all the answers I told you, but heck, like, let's talk about it. It's a great one. That is a great arc. Thank you again. Good. Thank you, Jedi. All right. Anybody else that has suggestions, definitely put it down in the thing or tell us whatever. We'll cover it. We might do a live for you too. Let's talk about Mando Messed Up Mondays. What a train wreck again for merchandising, folks. Train wreck for merchandising. Speaking of train wrecks for merchandising, if you can get to your local Walmarts, they are a mess. I've never been to a Walmart before. I haven't. Like I almost went to one time. And I was like, yeah, I don't really need whatever they have in there. So I walked out. I did go to a Walmart today, and I scored doubles because I open one and keep one. And some of the boys need them too, so I send them out to that.
I don't have any. Yeah, I need to get one.
Yeah, I sent the Soko out already. I had a second of that. The Death Trooper.
I just don't like those 6-inch figures, man. Fuck 6-inch figures. Fuck them.
Why? Why?
I hate them. I hate 6-inch figures. Listen. Why? Why do I like the figures? Right? Why do I go back to liking the 3 3/4-inch figures? It always goes back to me saying, I like collecting this stuff because it reminds me of my childhood. And when I think of my childhood, they were all 3 3/4-inch figures.
I get it.
And it's like, if it's not 3, I need the 3 3/4-inch figures. And listen, I don't like the Legends figure, not the Legends figures, the retro figures. I hate the retro figures.
So
I hate them.
How can you like Todd because I know that you're a fan of Todd McFarlane.
I'm a fan of McFarlane, but
okay,
listen.
so do you hate the new DC line of McFarlane figures?
All I'm saying, if it's Star Wars or G.I. Joe, I want 3 3/4 figures. Right.
You put your hand up like this, you must have small hands. That's what it is. He's got small hands. No, like, I get what you're saying. This is just what I'll say about it. And I like the nostalgia of the smaller figures, but for my play time, I don't have enough. I don't have a lot of free time to play unless I'm playing with my kids. And the 6-inch figures are an easy way to introduce your kids. I actually have a video. Maybe we'll show it of what my son was unpacking the Captain car. Some people will have a heart attack because of the prices of these. And when I left the room with him in the Hondo, and like I'm surprised the figure isn't broken. But they make a quality figure, the 6-inch figure, where I think
they are. Very quality figures. I get it. And they look
good. You guys, then you can do what you want. I don't want because he's got a school shirt on. I'm not quite sure I want everybody knowing exactly where I live. But like,
yeah,
it's kind of, he like takes it and on the table and is like slamming it while I'm out of the room. I didn't see it because he's playing around. He's like, yeah, I'm going to fly that. Hando, and doing all this stuff. I watched the video. I'm like,
that's good.
How is this guy not broken? Like, how is he like, he's still.
Well, yeah. And I don't know how many original yellow extended lightsaber Lukes from Tatooine, the original figure. I probably popped the head off of easily 10 of those guys. Like literally I had the greatest mom in the world, man. I miss and love my mom to death. And I've said it here before. I'll say it again. My mom would go out the next day and hunt every store she had to hunt to make sure that I had that figure to make, all my battle action scenes. There was a defect in that Luke. And if you barely touched his head, that thing would pop right off. And nowadays they are built so much stronger, so much better.
Yeah. One day we should have an off-show shoot about toys not just Star Wars stuff, because then I can talk about the G.I. Joe rings. And I'm trying to figure out if anybody can figure out how to replace those U-balls in the He-Mans.
No, I thought you were going to say G.I. Joes. I replaced all my O-rings on my G.I. Joes. I've got bags. I've got freezer bags of G.I. Joe parts.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? That's the kind of nutcase I am with those 3 3/4.
Hey, really quickly, so I'm going to finish up Walmart. So it's my first trip. Maybe I'll give a deeper dive, but like Jedi, don't worry about it. I randomly did there. I will tell you this. I probably won't go back. I understand it's a tough job. I've been fortunate enough in my life. I've had some very cruddy jobs. I've never had to work at a Walmart type store or work fast food.
But, hey, listen, man, I will say this about Walmart. Walmart is a shit show right now. But a couple years back, man, Walmart was a great place. My dad managed a Walmart for like 5 years back, like 15 years ago. And Walmart was a great place to work back then. And it was so different than it is now. But they have turned into a complete shit show, both what it's like to work for them and what it's like to be in a store. They literally...
Now you just go for people watching. Like I have gone there and just wandered around for hours and checked stuff out and looked at things, whether it be in the toys or in, whatever, the groceries part, the games and stuff, and just listen to people, just kind of, eavesdrop, because I'm that guy. I like to hear other people's stuff and what they're doing in life. And not only that, but just watch some of the clothes people are wearing. And there's a reason that's an internet sensation.
I'm not
people are crazy to go there.
I'm not going to talk about yes, I'm not going to talk about the people that are shopping there. This is why, Jet, I'll explain all this real quickly. I wasn't going to go down this. Maybe we won't. We'll still get to Monday. We'll fly through Monday merchandising. I haven't been to a Walmart before because I live in Michigan. And in Michigan, we have a Myers because Myers is local.
Sure.
We also have Target, which is in the Midwest. So we have a lot of those.
Yeah, buy local.
Smaller stores, and I work a lot of shows locally. So I've never had, including flea markets and antique malls, so I've never had a problem getting what I wanted. Though I just went in, awesome. I was right next to it. So and it's not like I've been to Sam's Club. So that's not a thing. But I'd never been to a Walmart. One time I was going to go, but then I got off call because it said a toy there. And my buddy had called me and he's like, hey, I already got you this from someplace else. I was like, cool. So I didn't have to go in there. I just haven't been. I know it sounds weird. They also, in where I grew up, took over a lot of small places and burnt them down. So we did have a kickback. So I've never been to one before. I will tell you this.
And that makes sense. The Eastern Coast areas don't typically have or go or frequent the Walmarts, kind of like the West Coast does.
Yeah. So the problem that I had with the Walmart, though, was not the place is a train wreck, mind you. And I actually thought it was maybe just the toy section. So I did look in a different section on the way out. No, it looks like somebody just goes through the aisles and smacks everything on the ground.
Yeah.
Now, I only went to one Walmart, and I've only been to one, but I assume that's how it looks everywhere. Number two, the problem was one employee saw me in front of Star Wars thing and pretty much had said something. And I was like, oh. I said, well, actually, I enjoy these figures, and yeah, I'm an adult. And then he went to another guy, and I am trying my hardest not to disparage what these people look like, and I understand their job is tough because I couldn't imagine having to work there. But then that guy's like, yeah, I don't understand these bleeping adults either going for toys, and I had somebody's number, but I'm never going to call him anyways. Who gives a shit? And I was looking at these two guys, and I'm like, man, I remember even being younger and doing the toy game, when Toys R Us and KB's was around and everything like that. And there was relationship buildings, even at my local Target. I went to one of my Targets, and one of the ladies went back and she spent 20 minutes looking for that Pike, the Officer Pike, the gold stormtrooper from Resistance. And she's like, I'm so sorry. We looked everybody. It must have. I know we only been open for an hour, but we must have put it out. I actually checked with the manager on the floor, and she didn't have to do that for me. But that's how they are there. So, you know what, Walmart, I get it. I get that it probably does suck there because apparently it does. Because every aisle, and I'm talking I left, we're going out the front thinking about it because I always strategically think about marketing and merchandising, which we'll get into. But I saw that and it was this. Maybe it's just toys because people are crazy about toys. No, man, I went to where they had comforters and towels and stuff. Same thing, man. And I was like, I'm deuces. I'm buying what I need to and I'm out. And then, of course, there's a problem with cashing out too. And then God bless the people that work at the cash register, but they didn't really, they're like, I'll leave you here I'm just done. I won't be back, unfortunately, I guess.
I don't shop there either. If I can help it there's certain things that I go and I buy there and that's it. Otherwise, I will drive 45 or more minutes to go anywhere but Walmart. Shop local, folks.
Yeah, I get it, but Myers out here, it's a big thing. Meyer is we put an S on everything, just like Ford's, so you know that it's local to us, and their customer service is probably some of the best. They really are. The people, they appreciate your business. Is all I'm going to say on that. Okay, let's get to Mando Mondays. Who can pull up some pictures?
Mando Mondays.
So Mando Mondays, for those that don't know, was this huge concept that every Monday going on throughout the Mandalorian TV show, they're going to have special offers and special products. This is kind of like the kickback from when we talked about Celebration and they really screwed up Celebration and the merchandising there. So let's pull up the first picture. Man, the shoes. Wasn't it the shoes? It was the shoes. These are actually cool. I really do like these.
I think the kids are calling them kicks these days.
I don't even think they're calling them. I think they're calling them kicks. We are too old to be calling them. But these are really cool. Small marketplace, I think you can get at.
I like the ones on the right. Those are pretty dope.
Tops, yeah.
Those are cool.
Kind of look like old school, like Jordans in a way, kind of.
It's all Adidas, I think. In the middle is Adidas. Like, those are like little slip-ons.
Yeezys,
yeah. They're all Adidas.
Yeah,
but they're
is that what they call these now? These used to be the cheapest like slides. The middle ones used to be like the cheap. Is that what a Yeezy is now?
No, I think the Yeezys are the ones that kind of look like the one on the bottom left. They have that like slip-on type stuff, but I don't think that's a Yeezy. I think it's just that type of slip-on.
Yeah,
but, I mean, the Yeezys are Adidas, right? Aren't Yeezys Adidas?
I wouldn't know. I didn't like I said. I shot something with Jen just the other day, and she brought up because Kanye, I guess, had something to say, and I haven't. Since College Dropout, which I thought was an exceptional album, that's all I know about him.
All I
He's
know
a musical
is
genius.
When I was growing up, I asked my mom for Adidas, and she bought me Zips. And I said, "Mom, what are you doing? You ruined my rep." And she told me I was only 16 and I didn't have a rep yet.
Yeah, that's the perfect answer. They did so. They had a very. I only pulled out a couple things, and then I'll tell you why in a minute. They had this too. This is going to be a hot seller. Honestly, like.
What the fuck?
Who is? Do we know what? Do we know what company is making that? Is it Maybelline? Is it L'Oreal? Is it?
I don't care. I don't know.
Color Pop.
Maybe it's Mando. Maybe it's Maybelline.
Look, that's what I'm saying. Like, I don't care who's making it. I'm telling you, this might be the hottest item they put out.
I'll bet it is. I'll bet it is.
Well, this and the Tickle Me Elmo, and we'll get to the Tickle Me Elmo. We saw this because we have kids and we buy Pyrex. These were kind of cool, but overpriced for what they were. I don't even know this. I mean, my mom's probably going to buy this and then just never use it.
Those things are super handy and really.
They are, but
really
everybody
good.
already has one.
Yeah, they're $20. But it's like $60. And the problem with it too is like then they did the toast thing that they always do. Like my family, it's not just me that likes Star Wars. My mom and my older brother really like Star Wars too. So they have like, I don't have this because I don't eat a ton of toast, which great. Now somebody's gonna kill me because of the toast thing. But like, I mean, I eat it when I'm eating breakfast, but like I don't have a toaster out on my thing. And they have one that already that does like the Imperial sign. They have one that does Darth Vader, and they have one that's like a Stormtrooper. We have them all already. I personally don't, but they did those in the Mando thing, so they redid that. They redid some night lights and stuff like that. And this is kind of funny, and we'll talk about it at the end. They did this, which would be cool if it came out today or yesterday or on actual Monday. This is like the season 2 poster book. There's supposedly is spoilers in this. Which would kind of be nice, or at least, I mean, it's a season 2 one. It'd be kind of cool if they did some. I mean, it's a TV show. Like, I don't understand how it has to be like the secret. I'm all for not being surprised, but I think if you put out a poster book and people want to know, then they can know. You know what I mean? I don't think we need to have, Blue whatever for every TV show we're going to do from now on, Blue Harvest. Like, I think you can get a little bit of spoiler in there or whatever. And why I say nobody's going to be able to see it is because the same thing in this. I started check. This is the Tickle Me Elmo. Have you guys seen this yet?
Yeah.
Like you can pat its head, it giggles, it pushes down and moves around. It's definitely the Tickle Me Elmo. It's going to be a hot Christmas gift when it comes out because none of this stuff came out on Monday. You hear what I said?
What?
It's Mando Mondays. None of it came out on Monday. But you can pre-order it all on Monday. It was Mando pre-order Monday. So that poster book isn't even going to come out, I think, till the middle of next month. So like almost all the seasons. It's 8 weeks. And I think the book comes out in 4 or 5. So it's anything that's going to come out probably is going to come out in the first 4 or 5.
So spoiler alert, no spoiler alert.
Tickle Me Elmo or Tickle Me Child.
Tickle Me Child.
Does it say what the pre-order date on this was? No, I didn't do it good enough. I do know it's a pre-order. I don't think that comes out till the middle of next month to the end of next month. Your shoes will be delivered sometime in November. The plates. Oh, they had plates that are coming out too, but I don't think you're getting those till almost December. Those are the Corel ones, the ones you can't break. They're $35. By the way, not bad. A little bit, but all this stuff wasn't bad though. Like the pricing on it wasn't exactly terrible. It's probably $5 or $10 more than it would be if it was some other genre. So the pricing actually was pretty decent on it. But with pre-order bots, like that's not the way to do it, dude. Like you should have just opened it up and you should have let people, because there's definitely bots out there. And when the words pre-order come up, they just keep clicking it over and over and over again. You should have made an actual buy with a identifier on it where you had to fill in like find the bicycle tires 5 times or something to that effect to keep out the, scalpers, I guess is a good word for it. They're not even flippers, but just people who are bulk buying anything they can buy and then just try to jack up prices on it.
Well, especially with the holiday coming. I mean, you're doing that quick grab so that you can push it all the day before. Oh, it's 3 days to Christmas, and hey, look, I still have these, and you can't get them anywhere else. Buy from me. Oh, by the way, that's $3 million.
Yeah, but so that's like part of the problem, though. Like if you pre-order it, and like, look, man, I do not have the time, effort, or energy anymore to run Disney's merchandising and marketing department. But like, you have to understand that if you're going to put these things out for pre-order and you're not even releasing them, the time that the merchandise is actually you're going to miss Christmas again for the second year in a row, because when it goes to the secondary seller, then they have to still relist it. So they're going to do the pre-order thing, which we have seen some toy companies already do on eBay or secondary sell or their own websites where they just say like, you could pre-order that figure came out. What do you mean I can pre-order the figure? I can't it's a Target, Walmart exclusive. How can I pre-order it through you when that came out a month ago? No, you're just going on the secondary market to try to find, you're not buying it and you're trying to be that type of seller, or you bought everything out and then you're reselling it. Like, so you're just going to have people ticked off because then either their sales are going to get canceled or they won't get it in time for Christmas. And once again, you're done then, man. Like you're done. Yeah. I think that's a distinguish too between like people who buy stuff for investment and keep it later down and the actual scalpers. Like I think people who wipe out shelves to try to change the marketplace, I think there's a special place. There's a
special place in hell for those people. Yeah.
That take stuff out of cans. There's a special place for you.
We gotta make a little movie or something where like the 9th level of hell is just filled with the hoarders that go in and like take all the baseball cards off the shelf or like all the the Mando stuff off the shelf, and you just
blink my camera.
That's all they do.
Brian, sorry. So how do I
Jedi Johnson says, what's the weirdest Star Wars merch you own? And he said he guessed his are lightsaber chopsticks. Now I don't have anything weird, but I remember back in the day, I forget which cereal it was, but I think this was during like Phantom Menace or maybe episode 2. And there was a cereal that if you bought it, the toy inside was a clear spoon that had a lightsaber hilt. Yep. And you press a button and the lightsaber would turn green or blue. I bought a shit ton of that cereal to get those spoons, man.
Yeah.
Those were fun.
I still have
there you go.
So I have the picture. It does not come out to look anything like that. It is literally just an aluminum pan. Yeah. This is the aluminum pan. That's all it is. It's the only reason I keep it is because like it was something my dad had like 2 birthdays in a row had made for me, which I still used to, by the way. That's how frugal and money was tight when I was a kid, that we used the same pan. And I think my brother had it done for him too. So we might have used that same disposable aluminum pan like 4 times, and it's still in good enough shape that I still have it in the box.
I'll have to dig up some pictures. When I got married on Halloween, I don't know, 11 years, 12 years ago, something like that. We had friends that were professional cake makers, and they actually got a Darth Vader and an R2-D2, and it looked exactly like the cover of that. It was amazing how good those cakes looked. And by the way, I am divorced now. It didn't work out. And then the cake toppers were 2 different figures, and I still have them. but one was Han and one was Leia, and that's what actually sat on top of the cake.
That's dope.
So it was, it was a good time. It was a really fun wedding for all the kids and stuff, and Halloween coming up, and the fact that you just showed me my wedding cake was pretty awesome.
Yeah.
So there are also two, and I'll probably do it on the show when we talk about it, because I was talking to some of our other friends that are on different shows, and we're going to do a little bit more with some of them, and we might cover some of the Ewok TV shows, and if that's so, maybe I'll break out my collection of cartoon Ewok toys.
I'm not even sure I can go with my most obscure toy. I mean, like you were saying, I still have, bed sheets, toothbrushes, plates, bowls for kid sets. There was a special mail away for a some kind of weird R2-D2 head. Was it Betty Crocker? I think it was Betty Crocker. And then a plastic Darth Vader cookie jar. And I have those still in bag and box. The only way you could get them was to order them.
I had an R2-D2 cookie jar.
Stuff. Yeah, I have really obscure stuff. I have an R2-D2 French press. I have R2-D2 measuring cup set. I have some really. One of my best friends got me one of those clocks that's cut out of a record. It's a record, but they cut out all the Star Wars stuff, so it looks like part of the cutout of the Death Star. And man, I should hang that up somewhere back there. And
Clayton had 50,000 of the same cups.
Yeah.
I've got them all. I've got them all. Yeah.
Yeah. So I got some obscure stuff.
Yeah, no, JJ Matt, we got to hook up, man, because I love, if you guys ever watch the Instagram account for this, every once in a while I'll throw up some like bootleg stuff, and we should probably do a bootleg. Like there's some cool, weird, like I love the bootleg stuff, and I know it's terrible. Like, the Danish bootleg stuff.
This right here for me, I could go to my grandparents' house in Maryville right now and fucking know exactly where to go straight to my toy pile that's buried in that backyard, man. You know what I mean? Like we all had that area where we buried our toys so we could go back and dig them up again when we got older. You know what I mean?
If you're in northern Colorado, there's a street called Baylor in Fort Collins, and there's a treasure trove of Dukes of Hazzard cars and Star Wars buried in that backyard.
I love it.
So the bootleg comics are cool, but like some of the bootleg, we were kind of getting into it with Mike, and as you know, or maybe you don't, Mike's really been busy, and we love having him on. We're trying to work stuff out with him, and he promises he'll be back. So as soon as we do, we have so many plans for him, so we have to try to narrow down what we can do with him. But the bootleg toy, there's like stuff that looks like dog chewy toys that and they go for big money, man. Like
yeah, they do.
Yep. Yeah, the Hungarian stuff is good too. Yeah, there's some good stuff out. Some of it's just straight up ugly, but the uglier the better sometimes, I think, like because it's random. We did that toy auction thing on it, and we kind of started talking about like Takachi stuff like that, but like
for our viewers that are interested, they're not bootlegs, but watch the foreign show. The foreign guys on the Flipside channel have a lot of stuff coming out, and on the Star Wars books, they already had one show. They're getting ready to do some more shows and drop some more here real soon. So,
and we're going to have a crossover show with them. We're hoping our crossover show with them drops tomorrow. We're just trying to tighten up a little bit of the stuff on it because we had to shoot in 2 parts. Hopefully we get that going. Their show is awesome. There's a lot of awesome shows out there on the channel right now. Obviously, if you guys watched live last week, here we go. This is a perfect fill into it. And what's in our description. Unfortunately, Leaky had to back out at the last minute, but make sure you check out his channel. He produces a lot of stuff there, especially for younger viewers sometimes too, but it is all the way to middle age, and it gets to show you some stuff. It's cool, man. Actually, I'm not going to give away what he does, but some of the stuff he does there, he did minis, so you get to see a lot of the minifigs, and he did some of There's some bad like not cool, like straight up terrible minifigs that they did. He does like the top 10 like
I love it.
Minifigs. Like it's really good. I just mentioned Jen and her show. Dude, they had I'm so jealous because of who they had on last week. Descriptions down there, not give it away, but he's the dude that made, was it JJ that said, somebody said it and they're right on. He's the dude that made vampires cool again. Like and he did. And like, hey, go watch their show.
Yeah, go watch Comic Book Women. If you guys missed that, you missed out. Yeah,
but the reason why I'm bringing up those two is because we have signed them on 100%. They've given us their swear blood oath, like the messenger. We will be doing on Sunday. We will have a recap of the Mandalorian show. This Sunday, we will be doing it live, and we will see how bad it is. We are going to try to keep it under 30 minutes. All of our great fans who are still here with us, and thank you for being here. This was supposed to be a 40-minute show. We're over an hour. But yeah, so we will be doing the Mando show. I hope you guys like that too. If you have any other suggestions, obviously we'll do those also as the week goes on. We'll start going back to tape shows during the weeks coming up, unless something breaks. And we will try to keep our recaps to under 30 minutes for the Mando show. There will be spoilers in it. You know me. I'm going to give you spoilers. So we understand if you don't want to watch that right away or whatever. But if you do have suggestions, you can always email us at talesfromthedarksidepdc. I don't know, man. We're going to put it down underneath the video. I'm literally going to link. The worst part is I'm the idiot that puts all the stuff in I link up everybody else's videos and I never put down. And I'm like, we should really put down like where our stuff is. Yeah, I never put our information. I link everybody else's stuff, not our stuff. So I'd love to do a live show review, but yeah. So it won't be a reaction show really either. We're not going to do like one of those like, oh, we're watching in the background and yeah, you guys watched it already. We're going to talk about it like what we liked, what we didn't like, sure, kind of reaction.
Spoilers. Yeah, so we will do
a little theory crafting, Hey, you know what? I saw this. I think they might be going this way with it. I could be wrong.
Hey, we might try something else too. I haven't passed this idea by anybody, but I'm kind of going to try to put up squares maybe at the end of it, we might do a giveaway too, because like if somebody does or doesn't show up, maybe we'll play some squares. Who knows? We'll try to figure something out. I know this thing has been going on for a very long time and everybody's looking for something to do. So maybe we'll have a little bit of fun with it too. We don't know what we don't know what it's going to look like. We do know that you guys have supported us a lot and we really do appreciate it. And we know you're going to support that too. So we thank you very much. This was a fun one. Do try to hit. I do answer the message. Oh, we're going to have Kev for Kev's Comics. Kev for Kev Comics, who is also one of our big part of our family, part of our supporting group. He's had great shows. We're going to do a special with him. We're going to shoot that. He's from New Zealand, so the time thing has been kind of off for us. We're going to shoot something with him and talk about what it's like out there and how he does his thing, because he comes up with some amazing book. Like he comes up with some amazing books. So don't miss that. We'll get that out as fast as we can. Hey,
before we leave, I do want to say one more thing. Keep your guys' eyes on Saturday nights. Got some fun stuff coming on Saturday nights, so keep your guys' eyes open for Saturday nights.
Solowookkie. Yeah, you will definitely see somebody on this channel. Maybe probably not me or Brian, but you'll see somebody. It's big news. We're not spoiling that, I guess. We spoil everything on the show. All right,
we don't care.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah, so we'll have that coming up. Solowookkie. Once again, I want to thank everybody that was in there. Cool. I will look forward to Jedi. Just do know it's busy season 2. I'm finishing up the rest of my regular busy season. So if I don't get back to anybody, I'll try to get back to you as quickly as possible. I'm pretty good with it. Jedi, I'll talk to you. Lopez, Maximus, great. Comics fun. I was going to say Skybox again. I don't know why I always miss the first part of that name.
Sticksbox, yeah.
I know, but I got to throw this TV out and get another one. JJ, always fun. Everybody that's been in the chat. Who else did I miss?
Jason Moore, George Lopez.
Oh, yeah.
Hey, Johnson. Maximus. Good to see you.
Shout out to Ultra, yeah.
Yeah. Hey, Ultra.
You guys. Comic Jump.
let's stop reading everybody's name.
You guys are great. Thanks for being here, guys. We really appreciate it when you guys come and hang out with us. And please, as Marco said, leave something in the descriptions. Then when you're done with that, talk to us a little bit and hit that subscribe. Force push that like. Saber strike that bell so you can be alarmed when the most handsome faces this side of the galaxy come to you live or pre-recorded. And may the Force be with you always.
Adios.
All right. Fight Club.